Good afternoon to everybody. Happy 2014 for those of us we haven't seen, and 2015 to the rest. From my side as well, let me also welcome Ms. Nketi, the advisor to the Vice Chancellor. Welcome to me. We're glad to have you in our midst. It's a real great honor and privilege to again, in partnership with Dr. Ruqayya Bauer and her team, to launch our first of many dialogue sessions this year. I just want to alert you to Thursday's important discussion on the state of the nation. Now, I want to assure you, we didn't have anything to do with what happened in Parliament on Thursday, but I suspect that it will certainly come up during Thursday's engagement. Let me make a link between what we're going to discuss on Thursday and this fascinating book by one of South Africa's most respected politicians. So I think the title and the subtitle of the book says it all. Insurgent Diplomat. So he was both rebellious in favor of change, oftentimes revolutionary change, but never gave up and sacrificed on the principle of negotiation, of dialogue. You know what's so fascinating about South Africa and this species to which both the Pahad brothers belong, the recall group, they were recalled in 2008. Some of them, it was compulsory, and others did it voluntarily. But it's interesting now that they have so much time on their hands, and you spend time with them and you learn from them. They are deeply principled people. They hold certain values and principles very, very dearly. One of those principles is the commitment to negotiated solutions. I would like to suggest to you, if I may, that the DNA of South African politics is in fact negotiation, is dialogue. Now let's fast forward and ask, given the current climate and development in South African politics, are we losing that value principle, or are we actually going to rediscover it and apply it and dig ourselves out of what seems to be a creeping political hole? I don't think all is lost. I don't think we're a failed state or becoming one, as many would suggest, but I think it's very important that we heed Aziz Pahad's call very, very soon. So, we're going to talk today about the art of diplomacy. Desmond Masters already alluded to former Deputy President Pahad playing the role during the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003, of playing the role of envoy, special envoy on behalf of President Mbeki at the time. Most recently, the current president, President Zuma, called upon former Deputy Minister Pahad and former Minister Zola Skweyiya. So there seems to be a lot of roles for these former people, but saw the need to tap into his wisdom and actually appointed former Deputy Minister Pahad alongside Minister Zola Skweyiya as his official envoys to engage both sides in this devastating conflict in Israel and between Israel and Palestine that has frankly been going on for far too long. Just a final word. we were once called as so-called analysts, this species of unaccountable people that have a lot to say about South African politics, and if we get it wrong, we just pretend we said the opposite. But we were called by the Sunday Times many years ago, I think it was 2001 or so, about who we think is the best foreign policy analyst in the country. And I said, Aziz Pahad. He said, no, we need analysts. I said, yes, you heard me correctly, Aziz Pahad. You see, in Aziz Pahad and others, we have a very rare breed of people that I don't think we appreciate often enough. Scholar practitioners. One thing about this book, it could have been written by anybody who enjoys a fancy title like professor, but it's filled with so much detail and riveting information about real politics and behind the scenes information that we often underestimate their role. There's often a cockiness on the part of those outside of government to think that, oh, these practitioners can't theorize. There's a powerful narrative that runs to the book. There is a methodology that runs to the book. It's both a memoir, I suspect, as well as an autobiography and an ethnography, powerfully written. So it's indeed our privilege, former Deputy Minister, and now civil society activist Aziz Pahad, to host you today. And then I would like to welcome Professor Garth Napier, and I'm not saying it just because he sits here and I don't want to get on his wrong side, but in the field that I am engaging in diplomacy and foreign policy, I would openly like to describe Garth Napier as probably the strongest theoretician on international relations that we have in the country and on post-apartheid South Africa's foreign policy. A special word of welcome lastly to the DVC academic. Now, I'm singling her out because she has a lot to do with the fact that we have a final product. Because you see, Aziz Pahad, for many years, even his brother gave up on him. Pahad is not somebody who throws in the towel very easily. He went through a long phase of pretending to be writing this book, but he wasn't really writing it. Until, of course, he had to deal with his wife, who just happened to be the DVC of UJ. And she forced him to finish the book. In fact, I suspect she wrote a couple of the chapters, but that's a conversation we'll have with her later. Thanks for your role. Thanks for forcing him to finally giving us volume 1, and we're looking forward to volume 2. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, members of the executive, honored guests, let me welcome Professor Napier, who had a strong hand in sitting, burning the midnight oil for many nights to help Aziz Pahad finally put this first volume to bed. Garth Napier was instrumental, so I'm going to invite Garth Napier to give us some introductory remarks about the book, the narrative, allow Deputy Minister Pahad to say something, and then we really would like to have an open conversation. I just want to warn you, the DVC and I attended one of the launches in Cape Town, and I was a facilitator there as well. So I suppose I've been asked to do it again because I messed up in Cape Town, so here I have to now correct things. But to the young Turks in the audience, one question was asked was this part. He still hasn't answered that question, by the way. So towards the end of that launch in Cape Town, he was asked, "Where were you when Marikana happened?" All I can tell you, he's yet to answer the question, but I want to encourage you, try and stick to the theme as much as possible. But if you really want to throw him some curveballs, you're also welcome. You have my protection. Thank you very much, and welcome.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.